Good morning, children. So, here we are starting with a new chapter, that is accounting books and statements. So, this is part 1, and in this chapter, you will be studying various concepts that will be helping you in solving practical questions based on journal, ledger, trial balance, and cash book. So, let us proceed with it, children. An introduction. Let us discuss the meaning of journal first of all. As you can read here, journal is a book of original entry in which the transactions are recorded first of all as and when they take place. So if you remember the meaning of accounting which we have done, that accounting is the art of recording, classifying, summarizing, analyzing and interpreting financial transactions, and we have also done the accounting cycle also. So if you remember, the very first step in accounting process is to record the transactions in a chronological or in a date-wise order. That means as and when the transactions are occurring, they are on the very same date, they are recorded in a serial order. So this work of recording is done in a separate book which is known as journal. Journal is also known as book of original entry. Why? Because the transactions first of all are recorded in journal. That means it is the book which includes or involves the original entry. Therefore, journal is also known as the book of original entry. Now the definition, this definition is given by Professor Carter, and according to Professor Carter, the journal as originally used is a book of prime entry. Prime entry means the original entry here, in which the transactions are copied in order of date from a memorandum or waste book. The entries as they are copied and classified into debits and credits so as to facilitate their being correctly posted afterwards in the ledger. If you remember, we have discussed the accounting cycle. There are a number of steps in the accounting process. First of all, we prepare journal, then we prepare ledger, then we prepare trial balance, then we prepare the trading account, followed by profit and loss account, and ultimately the balance sheet. And the process continues. So journal is the book of original entry. Why? Because the recording of transactions takes place first of all originally in the books of journal, and journal also helps in the preparation of further steps. Without journal, ledger cannot be prepared. Without ledger, the trial balance cannot be prepared, and all the things are interrelated. So this is the meaning and definition of journal. Moving ahead with the advantages of journal. What is the advantage? Obviously, we are keeping a systematic record in a date-wise manner. So obviously, it is beneficial. So what are the other advantages of journal? Let us discuss. First of all, as transactions in journal are entered as and when they take place, the possibility of omission of a transaction in the books of accounts is minimized. In common parlance, it means that in journal we are recording the transactions as and when they are occurring on a daily basis. So that means there are very minimal or very less chances of omitting or skipping any transaction or missing out any transaction. Then secondly, as transactions in journal are recorded in chronological order. Chronological order here means date wise order. This we have already discussed this term in the meaning of accounting. It is very easy to locate a particular transaction when required. That means it is very easy to record the transactions as and when required. Because these are prepared date wise, so we can find out any transaction of a particular date, etc. Point number 3, once the transaction is recorded in journal, posting in the ledger can be made as and when convenient. Obviously, because we know without journal, ledger cannot be prepared. So once the journal is prepared, as and when it is required by the accountant or by the business or the firm, it can prepare the ledger. And lastly, journal facilitates cross-checking of ledger accounts in case a trial balance does not agree. So soon after preparing the journal, we prepare the ledger, and soon after preparing the ledger, we prepare the trial balance. And slowly and gradually, when we discuss that chapter, we will discuss that trial balance has to tally. There are two sides which should be equal. So if at all they are not tallying, it means that there is some problem might be in the preparation of trial balance. If it is correct, then there is a problem in ledger. So what is the problem in ledger? That can be verified from the journal. So these are the advantages of journal. Now the format of journal, very important. There are 5 columns in the format of journal. This is the format or proforma of journal. At the top of the format or the columns, definitely you have to write the word journal, otherwise your marks will be deducted. Either in class 11th or 12th, it doesn't matter, you have to mention the word journal as a heading above this format. So as you can see, there are 5 columns. The first column is the date column, second one is the particulars column. Now date column, that means on what date the transaction has occurred. If suppose if you have sold goods on 5th December, then in the date column you will write December 5, 2020. Then particulars. Now in journal, further as we move further with the chapter, we will discuss that in journal the transactions are recorded in an entry form. So the entry, which is also known as journal entry, will be recorded in the particulars column. The third column is the ledger folio. Folio here means the page number. So ledger folio column, basically as a student you don't use much, but obviously as an accountant in business or etc., this column is very much used. Basically this column shows you that the entry which is posted here in the particulars column, this entry is posted on which page number in the books of ledger. So ledger folio column is for that. Then as we have already discussed beforehand, that just like we human beings have a number of languages, in the similar fashion accounting has 2 languages. One is the debit language and one is the credit one. So in journal also, the last 2 columns, as you can see, is the column for amount. The last 2 columns are for amount. The first amount column, or you can say the fourth column, is the debit column. That means whatever amount is being debited will be posted here, and whatever amount is being credited, that will be posted in the credit column. So these are the 5 columns of format of journal, and the serial order, the hierarchy, the sequence cannot be changed. So first column will be date, second column will be particulars, third column will be ledger folio, fourth column will be debit amount, and fifth column will be credit amount. In accounting, the short form for debit is DR dot and the short form for credit is CR dot. So this is the format for journal. Moving ahead, these are the rules of debit and credit, what needs to be debited and what needs to be credited. This we have already discussed while discussing the chapter double entry system. So kindly I would suggest that kindly go through the video of that chapter once again, children, before you proceed with the numericals. But anyhow, we'll be revising the golden rules of accounting. If you remember, in the double entry system and previous chapters also, we have discussed that there are 3 types of accounts, namely personal account, real account and nominal account. We have also done the classification that which item goes in which account. For example, personal account involves the human beings, the artificial institutions, etc., and there are some representative items. So what are that? You need to revise it from the previous videos. Then another account is the real account. Real account basically deals with the tangible and intangible assets, that also we have discussed. And nominal account. Nominal account basically deals with the expenses, losses, incomes and gains, that also we have discussed beforehand. So anyhow, just revising the rules, children. These are the golden rules of accounting. These can be asked as a conceptual question, and your entire accounting is based on these golden rules of accounting. So the golden rule of accounting of personal account, as discussed earlier, is debit the receiver and credit the giver. So all those accounts or the classifications or the items which are coming in personal account, if they are receiving anything, they will be debited. If they are giving anything, they will be credited. Real account, the golden rule is debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So all those assets which are a part of real account, if they are coming in the business, they will be debited. If they are going out of the business, that will be credited. For example, if you purchase a machinery is an asset, as we have already discussed. So if the business purchases a machinery, that means a machinery is coming in the business, and being a real account, machinery will be debited. If the same machinery is sold second hand by the business, it is going out, being a real account, it will be credited. Then nominal account, the golden rule says debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. So basically these are the golden rules of accounting. Again revising: personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver; real account, debit what comes in, credit what goes out; and nominal account, debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. Now there are additional rules which we have also discussed before, just like points to remember. So we'll be revising here once again. Apart from the golden rules of accounting, there are some other basic rules which you might or basically I should say you should be knowing for solving various practical questions. So the number one is all assets, expenses and losses have a debit balance. So besides golden rules, these are the various rules which will be helping you while solving the questions related to journal, etc. I just gave you an example that if the machinery is a real account, it is an asset. So if the machinery is purchased by the business, it is coming in, it will be debited. But if the machinery is sold by the business, it is going out, it will be credited. But suppose if I ask you, what is the general balance of machinery? I didn't tell you whether it is going out or it is coming in. So in that case, you have to apply the point number one, that since machinery is an asset, therefore it will carry a debit balance. So these are the rules which will be helpful in such times. So revising again, point number one says all assets, expenses and losses have a debit balance. Point number two, all liabilities, incomes and gains have a credit balance. Point number three, if there is an increase in the balance of assets. Now, since the assets carry a debit balance, so if the value of assets increases, it will be debited more. On the other hand, on the contrary, if the value of assets decreases, it will be credited. So as you can see, on the contrary, if there is a decrease in the balance of assets, it is credited. In the similar manner, the fourth point, if there is an increase in the balance of liabilities, it is credited. On the contrary, if there is a decrease in the balance of liabilities, it is debited, just opposite of assets. So these are the 4 points. Point number one, all assets, expenses and losses carry a debit balance. Point number two, all liabilities, incomes and gains have a credit balance. Continuing further, since we know by the point one that all assets carry a debit balance, so if the value of asset increases more, we will debit it more, and if the value of assets decreases, it will be credited, opposite. And in case of liabilities, since we know by point number two that liabilities carry a credit balance, so if the value of liabilities increases, it will be credited more, and if the balance or the value of liability decreases, again we'll just do the opposite thing, it will be debited. So besides golden rules, points to remember which we have discussed here, so these are the points which you should remember for moving ahead with the practical chapters. Now we are starting with some of the basic journal entries. There are a number of entries which will be discussed. So we'll be starting with the very first entry, that is the started business with cash. As we know, whenever a business is started, the owner or the proprietor or anyone who is starting a business needs to invest a certain amount of money to set up or to establish a business. So this is the term started business with cash. And if you remember, if we have discussed the basic terminology chapter of accounting, in which we have discussed the word capital. We have discussed the term capital. What is capital? Capital is the amount invested by the proprietor in the business, or capital is the amount invested by the owner in the business. So this started business with cash. The cash here is the capital. Now remember one thing, children, all the transactions, since if you remember the chapter GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, there we have discussed one concept, that is dual aspect concept. And dual aspect concept states that all transactions have two aspects. All the transactions have at least two aspects. One is debited and one is credited, and the debit should always be equal to credit. This is what we have discussed in dual aspect. So you need to remember that every transaction you come across will be having two aspects. One aspect will be debit and one aspect will be credit. So in all the entries, you have to find out, you have to analyze, you have to identify which account will be debited and which account will be credited. So starting with this one, started business with cash. As soon as you read started business with cash, that means cash is being invested in the business, obviously by the proprietor. So immediately the one thing which should come into your mind is capital. So what is the effect of this transaction? That cash is coming in the business and it is increasing the capital. So as you can read here, the amount with which the business is started is known as capital. It is the amount invested by the owner or proprietor in the business as the beginning of an or during an accounting year. That means as soon as the accounting, this also we have discussed in the GAAP chapter, accounting period concept, that the books of accounts of a business needs to be prepared at regular intervals. That's why it is prepared at an interval of 12 months, that is 1 year, and this 12 months starts from 1st April of 1 year to 31st March of next year. So at the beginning of the year of an accounting year, basically these 12 months are known as accounting year. So at the beginning of an accounting year or during an accounting year or at the end of the accounting year, irrespective, whenever some amount is invested by the proprietor or the owner in the business, it is known as capital. And also in GAAP chapter we have discussed the business entity concept, which states that business and businessmen in the eyes of accounting are not the same. What belongs to business does not belong to businessmen, and what belongs to businessmen does not belong to business. And this is the reason that this amount of capital invested by the proprietor, no doubt money belongs to the owner only and business also belongs to the owner, but in the eyes of accounting, owner and business are two different identities. Therefore, the amount which the owner has invested in the business is treated as a liability for the business, on the assumption that this money has to be returned by the business to the owner. Therefore, this amount of capital will be considered as a liability for the business. And whenever you are preparing accounting books of accounts, you need to remember one thing, that you are preparing the books of accounts from the point of view of the business. So in this case, as you know, that capital is a liability. Why? Because this money belongs to the owner and not the business, and therefore business needs to return this, and therefore capital is kind of a liability. It is like a liability for the business. And as we have discussed rules here, that liabilities carry a credit balance. So capital is a liability for the business as per business entity concept, and it carries a credit balance. So which thing we will credit in the entry is capital. What is the other aspect or other effect of this investment is cash is also coming in the business. And if you remember, cash is an asset. Cash is a part of real account. And what does the golden rule of real account says? That debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So when the owner invests certain money in the business, the cash is coming in, and therefore cash being a real account will be debited since it is coming in the business. So that means we have got both the aspects. What is to be debited? Cash is to be debited. What is to be credited? Capital is to be credited. Now after identifying what is to be debited and what is to be credited, you have to frame the entry. How you will frame? As you can see, this is the format. I have written journal at the top because this is mandatory. Now since date has not been mentioned here, it is just an example, therefore I have left date column blank. I have left amount column also blank because it is just an example, just to explain you how the entry is passed. Now since we know what is to be debited and what is to be credited, so the way of posting such entries or passing these entries are, whatever is to be debited has to be written first, that is cash account debited. Which account we will debit? Cash account. Other than human beings, all the aspects will be suffixed by using the word capital A oblique small c. This is a short form for account. So other than human beings like Ram, Sham, Rahul, etc., other than human beings, this account word has to be suffixed in each aspect, whether it is to be debited or credited, but other than human beings. In the name of human beings, we will not use this word account. Now, cash account debited. Now, whatever is to be debited needs to be written first. So, I have written cash account debited. Now, for debited, you will write the short form DR, and that you will write at the extreme end, at the right hand side of particulars column. Then whatever is to be credited, you have to write in the next line, leaving some space on the left hand side. So as you can see, I have left some space on the left hand side, and whatever is to be credited needs to be prefixed with the word, or needs to be started with the word to, to. So in this, we have analyzed that cash account is to be debited, so that we have written first cash account debited, that is DR, and capital is to be credited, so therefore next line we have left some space on the left hand side, and we have started with the word to because it is to be credited, so we have written to capital. Again, it has to be, it is not the name of a human being, so therefore it has to be suffixed by the word account, A/C. And in bracket, as you can see, I have written something. This, what I have written in brackets, is known as narration. Basically, it shows that the entry which you have passed, what is the reason behind that, what is the cause. So it is narration. According to the amendments, it is not compulsory to pass the narration. You don't have any additional marks, but according to the marking schemes of council, if you do not write narration, you get negative marking. That means if you write it, you will not get any additional extra marks, but if you do not write it, then you will lose marks. So it is advisable to make it a habit of writing narration so as to protect so as to not lose your marks. So this narration can be started with either word for, FOR, or it can be started with the word being, BEING. It is up to you which word you use, and it is just like a kind of a summary in short, that which is depicting that this entry is passed for which reason. So as I have written, for business started with cash, that means this entry, cash account debited to capital account, is passed for a transaction which is business started with cash. So this is the manner in which you will pass the journal entries. I hope it is clear to you, children. So this was the first basic entry, started business with cash. Moving ahead, second, entries related to expenses and incomes. As you know, besides golden rules, we have discussed certain rules which needs to be followed, that all expenses, losses carry a debit balance, and all incomes and gains carry a credit balance. Do remember this rule while we discuss the point number 2. Entries related to expenses and incomes. Expenses basically means that all those amount which the business has paid for day to day transactions, or basically all those day to day whatever the business is paying for expenses for minimal day to day working. So expenses such as commission paid, purchases, rent paid, salary paid, interest paid, etc. So these are the examples of expenses. This we have already discussed while discussing the classification of accounts in the previous chapters. So expenses such as commission paid, purchases, rent paid, salary paid, interest paid, telephone charges paid, miscellaneous expenses paid, electricity paid, freight outward paid, carriage outward paid, inward paid, etc. So these expenses carry a debit balance. On the contrary, incomes such as, now these things received will become an income. So on the contrary, incomes such as commission received, sales, rent received, interest received, miscellaneous receipt, sale of old newspapers, etc., carry a credit balance, because we have already discussed the rule, and also because expenses and incomes are a part of nominal account. And the golden rule of nominal account also says that we will debit all expenses and losses, and we will credit all incomes and gains. So this is so because all these expenses and incomes are a part of nominal account, which follows the rule that debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. So in this case, as you can see, now one thing you need to remember, children, in case of expenses or in case of incomes, even if it is not mentioned that whether it is paid or received in cash or not, you will assume it to be incurred in cash unless and until something specifically has been specified. So even suppose, for example, if the question says rent paid 5,000, it is not saying that rent is paid in cash 5,000, but it is simply saying rent paid 5,000. So you need to remember that rent being a nominal account, in case of nominal account only, if the word cash is not mentioned and if any other information is also not mentioned specifically, then we assume that all those nominal accounts, whether it is expenses or incomes, are incurred in cash. And one very important point, children, that in case of nominal account, since we are assuming that these are to be incurred in cash, so even if the name of the person is given, we will not take the name of the person, or we will not take the person's account in consideration. For example, if the question says rent paid 5,000 to Ram, so we know that rent being a nominal account is assumed to have been incurred in cash. So we have nothing to do with Ram. We will not involve the name of Ram or his account in the books of account. We will just involve two aspects, will be rent, the expense itself, and cash. We will have nothing to do with Ram. This is very important point in case of nominal account. Now as you can see, cash account being a real account will be credited. In case of expenses, cash account will be credited. Whenever the expenses are paid, cash account will always be credited, because when you are paying the expenses, that means, for example, if you are paying rent 5,000 to Ram, what is the effect of this transaction? The business will be giving 5,000 to Ram. That means 5,000 is going out of the business, and cash being a real account, if it is going out, it will be credited. So cash account being a real account will be credited in case of an expense paid, since it is going out of the business. On the contrary, cash account being a real account will be debited in case of an income received, since it is coming in the business. So just the opposite of expenses paid. If the incomes have been received, again it is assumed that since it is a nominal account, it will be received in cash, and if it is received in cash, that means cash is coming in the business, and we know that income is a nominal account. So it says debit what comes in and credit what goes out. So in that case, what will happen? The income, or because of income, the cash is coming in the business. Therefore, in case of income received, always the cash account will be debited, and in case of expenses paid, always the cash account will be credited. As you can see the entries here, children, format of journal. The first entry is for expenses paid and the second entry is for income received. In the date column, I have written the serial number because date was not given here. So for expenses paid, we know that cash account will always be credited. So the entry will be formed as expenses account debited, because expenses carry a debit balance. Here the name of expense will be specified. If it is rent paid, then rent account debited. If it is salary paid, salary account debited. If it is wages paid, wages account debited, and so on, to cash account. And in bracket for narration, you will write for expenses paid in cash. Narration is, framing of narration is up to you. You can write or frame it as you want. Second entry is for income received, and whenever the income is received, cash is coming in the business and therefore cash is being debited. So the entry will be cash account debited to income account for income received in cash. Note: expenses and incomes will assume to have been incurred and received in cash if the word cash is not specified in the question. That we have already discussed. This rule will not follow in case of outstanding expenses and outstanding income, because outstanding expenses and outstanding income becomes your liabilities and assets respectively. So that is having a separate accounting treatment, which we will discuss further. Moving ahead with the third entry, that is related to purchase of goods. Now, if you remember, we have discussed in the basic terminology chapter, goods means those items in which the business deals. For example, for a furniture dealer, furniture, tables, chairs, etc. will be goods. For a stationery dealer, pen, pencil, register, etc. will be goods. For a general merchant dealer, soaps, detergent, chips, etc. will be goods. So whenever the goods are purchased, the items in which the business deals are purchased, we use the word purchases. And there can be either the purchase can be in cash or it can be on credit. There are two possibilities. Either it can be in cash or it can be in credit. So in both the aspects, the entries will be a little bit of different. There can be a number of cases. Case number A, when the question expressly mentions that the purchases are in cash. That means when the question itself specifies that purchase of goods have been made in cash. So even if the name of the person is given, similar rule, even if the name of person is given, we do not have to take it into consideration. Now remember one thing, children, whenever the goods are purchased, whether it is in cash or it is in credit or both, irrespective, purchase account will always be debited. Always. Purchase account will always be debited. Now coming to what is to be credited. Either the cash will be credited if it is a cash purchase, or the supplier will be credited if it is on credit, because in that case the supplier will become a creditor, a liability for the business, and we know that liability carry a credit balance. So case number A is when the question expressly mentions that the purchases are in cash. That means when the question specifically specifies that purchases are made in cash. So if the purchases are in cash, you don't have to do anything with the name of the person. You just have to see purchase account will be debited because it is an expense, and cash account will be credited because being a real account, cash is going out since the payment is made in cash. So as you can see, purchase account will be debited since it is an expense as per nominal account. On the other hand, cash account will be credited since cash is going out of the business as per real account. Now note, in such cases, even if the name of the supplier is given, we will credit cash account and his name will be ignored, as we have seen here. Now B case. The second case can be when the question expressly mentions that the goods are purchased on credit. In the first case, question stated that the purchases are in cash, and in second case, the question is stating clearly that the goods are purchased on credit. So in that case, now as we know, whether it is purchased in cash or credit, purchase account will always be debited. If it is purchased in cash, cash account will be credited, and if it is purchased on credit, then supplier's account will be credited. Why? Because payment has yet not been made to him. That means it becomes a liability for the business, and therefore it carries a credit balance. So as you can see, purchase account will be debited since it is an expense as per nominal account. On the other hand, supplier's account will be credited since he will become the creditor for the business to whom the business is liable to pay back the outstanding amount. This is so because creditors are a liability and carry a credit balance. Now note, in such cases, even if the name of the supplier is not given, we will credit supplier's account. That means even if the name of the person is not given, even if the name of the supplier is not given, then too, if the name is given, we will credit the name of the person. If the name is not given, then we will credit supplier without the word account, because it is a human being, as the word account is not suffixed to the name of a human being. Case number C or third case, when nothing is mentioned in the question regarding cash or credit. We know if the purchase in cash, we will debit purchase and credit cash. If the purchase in credit, then we will debit purchase and credit supplier. But if the thing is mentioned in the question is simply saying purchase goods rupees 5,000. It is not telling you whether it is purchased in cash or it is purchased in credit. So it will be assumed to be a credit purchase. That means if the question is silent, if nothing is mentioned in the question, whether the purchase is in cash or credit, then we will assume that the goods are purchased on credit, and we will debit the purchase account and credit the supplier account. The same thing which we have discussed, purchase account will be debited since it is an expense as per nominal account. On the other hand, supplier's account will be credited since he will become the creditor for the business. Note, in such cases, even if the name of the supplier is not given, we will credit supplier's account. The same note, without the word account, since it is a human being. Now let us discuss few examples to make it more clear to you, children. Example number 1, purchase goods for rupees 20,000 in cash. Now the word cash is specifically mentioned here. Now whenever the goods are purchased, whether in cash or credit, purchase account will always be debited. So that means here Purchase account will be debited, and since the goods are purchased in cash, so cash account will be credited because cash is going out. So as you can see in the journal format, the first entry is purchase account debited to cash account, and amount will be 20,000. And when you are writing the amount in the debit column, it will be adjacent to the debit particular, and when you are writing in the amount in the credit column, it will be in front of the account which you are crediting. That means, see, I have shown 20,000 rupees in front of cash account in the credit column. So you have to make it very clear. Then example number 2 is purchase goods from Shreya rupees 20,000 in cash. Now again, goods are purchased in cash, but the name of the supplier Shreya is also given. So if the goods are purchased in cash, we do not have to consider Shreya. Normally the entry purchase account will be debited whenever the goods are purchased, and since it is purchased in cash, so cash account will be credited. We will not involve the name of Shreya anywhere. Third point, purchase goods from Ash rupees 20,000 on credit. Now here the goods are purchased on credit. Goods are purchased, purchase account will be debited, but these are purchased on credit, so we will credit the supplier's account. Ash is a human being, so we will credit to cash. What will be the entry framed? Purchases account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to Ash 20,000 in the credit column in front of Ash. Fourth example, purchase goods rupees 20,000 on credit. Now here it is mentioned to you clearly that the goods are purchased on credit, but the name of the supplier is not given to you. So what you will do, you will debit purchases because you are purchasing the goods, and you will credit suppliers because the name of the supplier is not given. So you will simply pass the entry purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to supplier 20,000 in the credit column. Last one, purchase goods for rupees 20,000 from Uditya. Now as you can see here, simply it is informed to you that you have purchased goods from Uditya. It is not told to you whether these goods are purchased in cash or credit. So in the absence of such information, you will assume it to be on credit, and you will debit the purchase account because you are purchasing the goods, and you will credit Uditya's name or account without the word account because it's a name of a human being. And what the entry will be framed, purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to Uditya 20,000 in the credit column. As you can see, these are the entries. Second entry, purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to cash account 20,000 in the credit column for goods purchased in cash. These goods were purchased from Shreya, but these were in cash, so we have not recorded the name of Shreya. Third entry, goods were purchased from Ash on credit. It was clearly mentioned in the question, so we have passed the entry purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to Ash 20,000 in the credit column in front of the name of Ash, and we have not suffixed the word account in name of Ash because it's the name of a human being. And in narration we have written for goods purchased on credit. Fourth entry, as you can see, purchase account debited to supplier. Since here the goods are purchased on credit but the name of the supplier was not given, so we have simply put the supplier. Purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column, to supplier 20,000 in the credit column. Then the last entry, purchase account debited to Uditya. In this case, it was not mentioned whether the goods are purchased on cash or credit, so therefore in the absence of any such information, we have assumed it to be a credit purchase, and therefore we have debited purchases account since the goods are purchased, and we have credited Uditya without the word account because again it's a name of the human being. So we have debited purchase account with 20,000 in the debit column, and we have credited Uditya with 20,000 in the credit column next to Uditya's name, and in the narration for credit purchase. So be very particular with the format, children. I hope the topics discussed here are clear to you. This is the assignment based on this part, children, which you need to do in your register. You have to answer the following questions in your copies. Question number 1, you have to state the meaning of journal. What is the meaning of journal? We have discussed that journal is the book of original entry where the transactions are recorded as and when they occur in a chronological order. Question number 2, you have to state any 2 advantages of journal. So you can write any 2 advantages. We have discussed 4. For example, you can write that it provides a day-to-day record of the transactions in a systematic
manner. Secondly, you can write the advantage that it helps in the preparation of ledger, trial balance, etc. Question number 3, you have to prepare a format of journal. So as we have discussed that there are 5 columns. First column being the date column, second column being the particulars column, third column being the ledger folio, fourth debit amount, and fifth credit amount. Then question number 4, you have to state the golden rules of accounting. So you will write personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver. Real account, debit what comes in, credit what goes out. Nominal account, debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. The next question, you have to pass the necessary journal entries for the following transactions. Number 1, started business with cash rupees 1 lakh. So what will be the entry, children? Cash account debited 1 lakh in the debit column. To capital account 1 lakh in the credit column, and narration you can write for business started with cash. Second, salary paid. What will be the entry, children? Even if the cash word is not given, since it is a nominal account, we will assume it to be in cash. So we will pass the entry salary account debited 5,000 in the debit column to cash account in the credit column 5,000. Number 3, interest received 2,000. Again, no doubt the cash word is not given, but it is a nominal account. So we will assume it to be in cash, and we'll pass the entry cash account debited, since cash is coming in because it is an income, to interest account 2,000 in the credit column. Fourth one, purchase goods for rupees 10,000 from Swati in cash. Now whenever the goods are purchased, we will debit the purchase account. Now since here the goods are purchased in cash, so we will not consider the name of the person. We'll simply pass the entry purchase account debited 10,000 in the debit column to Swati, to cash account in the credit column 10,000. We will not record the name of Swati. A narration we can write for goods purchased in cash. Next transaction, purchase goods for rupees 20,000 from Shreya on credit. Now again, since we are purchasing the goods, we will debit purchase account. So purchase account debited 20,000 in the debit column to Shreya 20,000 in the credit column, because here we are purchasing the goods on credit and Shreya has become our creditor. Since Shreya is a creditor and creditor is a liability, we have already discussed that liability carries a credit balance. And for narration we can write for goods purchased from Shreya on credit. Next transaction, purchase goods for rupees 3,000. Now since here neither the word cash is given nor the word credit is given, so in the absence of such information, we will assume it to be a credit purchase as we have discussed, and we'll pass the entry purchase account debited 3,000 in the debit column to supplier 3,000 in the credit column. Since the name of the supplier is not given, then too we will credit supplier. And lastly, purchase goods for rupees 4,000 in cash. Now here, since the goods are purchased in cash, purchase account debited to cash account, because cash being a real account is going out. So these are the entries which you need to pass in your register. These are the questions which you need to answer in your register. You have to go through the slides, go through the video once again, revise all the concepts which we have discussed here, children, and especially the rules. Practice as many questions as you can from your book as well. And in the upcoming video, we'll be proceeding further with the chapter. Thank you, children. Take care.